Hey folks, look at this beautiful blueberry pie. This darling just came out of the oven. It's absolutely delicious pie. I tell you what, wait till you try one of these blueberry pies, you're going to be blown away at A, how easy this is to make, but B, how delicious it is. Well, hello! Welcome back to Texas Cooking Today. On this episode, we're making a delicious, delicious dish. It's called blueberry pie. Now, blueberry pie is an easy dish to make, but I'm going to teach you how to elevate it to a whole new level. I'm going to teach you how to make the filling so it doesn't run all over the place, so it's nice and firm. And I'm going to show you how to make the flakiest crust that you have ever put in your mouth. How to make it just right. How to get everything just perfect. So I'll tell you what. Come over this way. Let me show you these wonderful ingredients that we have to make the best tasting blueberry pie that you've ever had. Come over here. Now, the ingredients that we have here, quite simple. You'll need a beverage of choice, anything that you'd like, tea, coffee, water, anything. Just get something that you'll enjoy so that you can kick back in the kitchen and make this the fun thing that it is. Blueberry pie is fun and easy, so don't kill yourself with it. Now, back here I have 2 pounds of blueberries. That's a good amount of blueberries. Alright, now I have 3 tablespoons of cornstarch here. Cornstarch is good for firming up the filling on a blueberry pie, but there's 2 things that we're going to do, and we'll talk about the other here in just a moment. Now, our crust, a very simple thing. I have 2 cups of flour here. You can use an all-purpose flour or a bread flour. Either one will work good for this. The thing of it is when it comes to a pastry crust like this, gluten isn't really such an issue, and so the bread flours don't really benefit you anyway at all. If that's all you have, it'll work fine, but you just don't need to go out and get it for that. Now, when it comes to making a good quality flaky crust, you're going to have a certain amount of fat in the crust in order for it to come out flaky. It won't work any other way. So what we're using for fat is butter and lard. Yes, I said it, and I didn't mean shortening, I mean actual real lard, the real thing. This lard works so much better than shortening ever could hope to work, and it produces the finest of pie crusts. And all you have to do is test with it once to find out the truth of this. Now, the better flavor that you get, though, of course, comes from butter. And the butter is going to be a fantastic flavor in this pie crust. And this crust this is a double crust, and it'll take a whole stick of butter and 1/3 of a cup of lard, okay? I have here 1 teaspoon of salt, and this is fine ground salt. I put it into my mortar and pestle and ground those down really well. So you might, if you can't find a fine grind salt, then just use a regular table salt. That'll work good. Here I have some sugar, and this sugar is going to be for dusting over the top of the pie crust once I'm finished making it. It won't be to go in the filling. The filling doesn't need sugar. Blueberries come with their own sugar built inside of them. Right here we have it's about 1/3 of a cup, maybe a little bit more, of vodka. Now, I know vodka sounds kind of weird. You don't want a pie crust that tastes like vodka. Yuck. However, you do want a nice flaky pie crust. And the less gluten we activate, the flakier the crust will be. We have to activate some of it in using a liquid because it's going to have something to keep it to stick together. Remember, vodka isn't 100% alcohol. It's only about half alcohol, and the rest, and that's if it's 100 proof, and the rest is water. So it's water and alcohol there. So that water is going to activate some of the gluten, but not as much as if you were to just use regular water or milk. That would activate much more of the gluten. This allows me to get a softer, more workable dough without having to activate so much gluten, which would make, of course, the crust tough. Now, let's move on to getting the rest of this ready. And next, I think, let's go ahead and talk about our other thickener. Now, the other thickener that we're going to be discussing when it comes to our filling is an item called pectin. Pectin is an item, it's a chemical that occurs naturally in fruits, more so under the skin. It occurs in fruits and berries and other sweet items like that. Pectin is an item called a polysaccharide. And if you're wondering, gee, what's a polysaccharide? Well, polysaccharides are chains of sugars. And in this case, the polysaccharides in these are going to bond together. And as they bond together, they have a condition that's known as gelling, which is what the reason they put pectin inside of the purees that they make jelly and jams with. The pectin is what causes it to get firm when it gets cool, and it's going to be the same way with this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some blueberries, we're going to put them aside, and I'm going to mash those blueberries and turn them into an extra pectin boost. So the only way I can extract extra pectin is to actually break it down a little bit and then cook it slightly and then pour that puree that I make, that mash that I make, right back into the pie dish. And that's going to be our second thickener. So we have two things working on our side to make the inside of that pie firm up a little bit. Cornstarch, that's natural ingredient, and pectin, the natural pectin that's already in the berry. That's a second thing, and it's a wonderful item. So let's get on with making this fabulous tasting blueberry pie. Now, again, vodka and a little bit of salt. And I'm going to take this salt, I'm just going to shake it in, like so. Alright. Just give that a light spin, so work it down. My butter, I want to go ahead and cut up. It's nice to have a good sharp knife. And the colder the butter, the better, okay? So if it's directly out of the refrigerator, it's the perfect time to use it. Get my lard. And the same way with the lard. This is kind of stiff because it's cold, but the colder your lard is, the better this little process works. We want to cut these into small pieces into the flour. So I take one of these, I just go at it. And sometimes this gets a little messy, don't worry about that. Now, I do not want to overwork this, nor do I want it to get too warm. So what I want to do right now is I'm going to put this back in my refrigerator just long enough to allow all of that butter and lard to firm up again. And then at that point, we're going to turn it into a dough using our vodka. Now, as we are waiting for that butter and flour to cool, I have pulled aside some of my blueberries. And this is about somewhere between 3/4 of a cup and a cup of the blueberries. So not just a whole lot. And I'm going to take a simple masher, which is used for beans, potatoes, or whatever else. And I'm going to break these berries open. There we go. And the whole idea here is I want to extract the pectin that's in those berries. And I'm going to use that pectin as one of my thickeners. The other little task that we have to do with our blueberries, we need to dust them. I need to incorporate that cornstarch down into my blueberries. Now remember, this doesn't take long. We're just going to be simmering it for a couple of minutes. And all it's doing is finishing the release of the pectin that's underneath the skin layer there. And that's a good strong form of pectin. Now, I have this wonderful product. Look at this, these little clumps of fat, nice and firm because they're cold. And I'm going to take my vodka and a tablespoon at a time. And we'll use it to moisten. There's 2 tablespoons. There, see, it's good and sticky, sticking to my hands. Believe it or not, that's very unusual in the pastry making world, to get a dough that'll be sticky on your hands like this and yet will end up being flaky. But it was when somebody, and it wasn't me, when somebody came up with the brilliant idea of using alcohol to do this with. They came up with a good one, I'll tell you what. Now put down flour, mash this out, a little more flour on top. There we go. Now don't push down, lift on the outside, okay? If you just push down, it will tear that crust. You want to be real gingerly, very gingerly with this right now. Now I'm going to take a knife and very gently cut around this edge. All I have to do is roll out the rest and cut strips to do my lattice work for the top of the pie. And I could also use what's left of that up there if I need to re-roll anything out. So now I just have to build the lattice work on top of that pie. Now, as our oven is heating still, we have the blueberries that we covered in our cornstarch a little bit earlier. We have our little pectin mixture that we've made here. That's our natural pectin. And I'm going to pour this into that. And this is already thickened up quite a bit. I simply want to fold these together. Now, beautiful mixture goes down in yon beautiful pie. Now we have our pie. It's beautiful filling, and we're ready to start working that lattice work across the top of this. And what I want to do is just start laying some strip of pastry right across the top. When I'm ready to do my basket weave on top of one of these, this is fairly simple. All you have to do is just fold back a couple of these, like so, weep up, and insert your first one on the edge, running crosswise. Cut off my excess. Just like that. Close these back over, like so. Fold these back. Lay in another, just like so. These go over, and then you fold back those first two again. So what I'm going to do is go around the edge of this, and I'm going to mash these two crusts together to start with. That's just for starters. And we're going to form it. Just press it down. Get it even. And then we're going to cut off the excess. I used to do fruit pies all the time. I loved it. Now, last but not least, before we get this down in our oven, we're going to very gently sprinkle that sugar over our top crust. Okay, let's get this guy in our oven. 400 degrees. Well, there we have it. Blueberry pie's in the oven. Now we can just kick back and relax and think about what it's going to taste like. We're going to have to take the time to bake it. When you get that dark golden brown crust on there, you're finished cooking it, okay? It's not like the berries have to really be cooked. You just have to cook that crust and at the same time the berries go through their transformation. I just now pulled this up out of the oven. It has come out beautiful. It did overflow a little bit on the edges where it bubbled up a bit too much. That sometimes happens. Don't let it bother you at all. Just go ahead and keep on cooking, and you're going to enjoy the pie. It's going to taste just the same either way. So all I have to do is let this cool down now for a couple of hours. Give us plenty of time. Be patient with it. Once you've done that, this will be wonderful. Well, it's just not terribly difficult to make a blueberry pie. And this one's a good one, let me tell you. First, before I do that, let me show you this. You notice the filling on this. It isn't running out everywhere, okay? There's a little bit down here, but I just got a little messy when I was pulling this slice out, as you can see. But the point is, filling isn't running every place. It's holding itself good and firm. That's the way it should do. And here we have this wonderful, beautiful blueberry pie. And this thing, the neat thing about it is it's got this flaky crust that is just fantastic. So if you're looking for a great way to do it, what you've just seen here, using the lard, that vodka, and the crust is so delicate and light and tender. The blueberries were slightly tart, and I love my pies when they're a little bit tart like that. Definitely a winner. Definitely one you should have in your recipe book. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching this show. Thank you for watching Texas Cooking Today. And for my subscribers, for you folks, thank you. Thank you so very much for subscribing. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet, well, gosh, what are you waiting for? Great shows coming out all the time. Super recipes coming out all the time. That's a good time to subscribe, so please do. You folks have a good day. Thank you for watching Texas Cooking Today, the show where you can get great recipes and the best techniques are taught. Please subscribe to Texas Cooking Today, where you will always find something hot and ready to eat.